There are a lot of stories on here that hits home. Mine is a very long story, so prepare yourself. And one reason why I'm sharing my story is to enlighten those who are in a similar situation as me, and that you are not alone. I am a divorcee in my early 30s with 3 kids. I was forced to get married when I was only 14 turning 15. I never liked or loved this man, but my family approved because he was much older than me in his mid-20s, and he's mature. At that time I didn't know any better and couldn't speak up for myself. I never once thought that I would end up with someone like that. I never paid attention to him or even cared about him. Mind you, I was born here in America, but my parents and his are still very traditional and they still think like the 60s. They then came to ask my hand in marriage and my parents approved right away. I was forced to get married at a young age and had to move into this family that I don't even know. At first it was hard and challenging. I cried myself to sleep because I miss my parents and family and was scared of my ex. Just 3 days into marriage, his true self came to light. He abused me and threatened me. He would beat me up without any reasons just to make him satisfied. Our first few nights, I was arbed by this man and it was horrible. I would always be scared when nighttime comes because I don't know what to do. I keep everything to myself because I didn't know who to tell. I got pregnant when I was 16. I was still in high school being looked down on and I lived a lonely life, no friends, no one to talk to. I opened my heart and loved this man because he was the first man in my life and the father of my kids. I basically grew up with him by my side and my mind went from a 20 years old to a 40 years old. I loved him and I respect him, but his anger issue was just too much for me to handle. After I had my 2 oldest, the abusiveness got worse. Me and my kids was physically abused, chased out, and was called by names my parents never called me before. He would abuse me in front of the kids and they would come crying by my side because they were scared for me while he is hitting me. He has beaten me with a metal stick and that is when I went to my parents' house. I went to my parents and they pulled a meeting with his family a few days later and just told me to be patient because it's the first time I went to them for our problems. I have never told anyone about the abusiveness I've been enduring. I then was forced to come back to this home that I didn't feel comfortable in. I told his family that me and the kids are not an animal, that he can treat us this way anymore. This has happened for 5+ years and if he ever land a hand on me or my kids again, for them not to be upset at me because I will call the police to protect us. That was the first time I ever spoke my mind. He then stopped the abusiveness. We finally got a house and moved out by ourselves within a few years, due to the house being too small for us and his family. He gotten better and knows how to control his temper for a few years. We were on our feet and whatever he wanted, we were able to get it. I would have to say that our marriage was good in other people's eyes. I feel like the age difference played a big role in our failed relationship because he's all about others while I'm all about us and the kids and families. He doesn't want to do anything with me and the kids, but I want to build memories for the kids because they are only kids once. He doesn't want to go anywhere with us, so it's always me and my kids. He doesn't try to meet me halfway because he said that he is the man of the house and I should obey him. He always treats me like a kid because he married me when I was a kid and that is always and will be how he looks at me. We have our differences. Different minds and different goals. I'm more modern and he is more traditional. I'm more open-minded while he is close-minded. We don't have any friends. His dad and brothers don't like him. We have no one, so our life is pretty much nothing exciting. I've tried to do new things and he yells at me. I try to cook something different and he yells at me. I change the layout of the living room and he yells at me. I buy things for the house and he yells at me. It got to the point where I couldn't handle it anymore and so I argued back and he, again, kicked me and my kids out because I disobey him. And so I went back to my parents' house the second time. They pulled another meeting and told me to be patient because he's here crying and begging for me to go back. Maybe he will change, they say. Maybe he learned his lesson and won't do it again, they say. And there I was, back in the trap again. I've tried to keep the marriage going. I tried to talk to him. Cried to his parents, sisters, and brothers to help save my marriage because I do not want to get divorced. I love my kids too much that I don't want them to be without their dad. All I want was his love, affection, and time. I want my kids to have good memories of us growing up. His parents and family tried and tried to help me. They tried to talk him out of being abusive. They tried to stop him when they sense that he is angry and he might hit me. They tried to make him see that we are worth fighting for, and I will always love his family for that because they always stood up for me. I always have respect for them and loved them like my own. They always have my back when it comes to him. I've learned so much and I became this independent woman because of his family and what I was put through. I was practically raised by his parents. They showed so much love that when I think about leaving him, I can't because of them. After a few years, he started to cheat. When I found out, I was heartbroken. I was thinking that am I not enough? What am I doing wrong? I work, I clean, I cook, I take care of the kids, I love his family, I love him. What am I doing wrong to make him find someone else? I confronted him about the cheating and he laughed it off like it was nothing. That broke me. I brought it up to his family and they lectured him, but it does not stop him. After a few months, I forced him to sit down with me while my kids were not home and I talked about us. I asked him what does he want me to do? What am I lacking? What does he see in his future? His response was that maybe we were just meant to be a couple for a little while, not a lifetime, and I said okay, that's all I needed to hear. And so I brought up divorce and he agreed. That night we didn't sleep on the same bed moving forward and I was crying a lot because I didn't know what to do. So the next day I called my mom and told her that we are getting a divorce. My family didn't like the news so they were against it. My father told me that I can only divorce over his dead body because he does not want to name that his daughter is divorced. If I don't listen then for me to never call him dad again. I was devastated. It broke me even more that my family was not on my side knowing what I went through. I had no one to turn to. But that didn't stop me. That made me stronger. Within 2 months I was able to find a place and moved out on my own with my kids and filed for divorce. I didn't want anything to do with him anymore, so I did not file for spousal or child support. We broke off on good terms because we both fell out of love and we were both unhappy. My mother found out that I moved out and she was very upset at me. She said, why am I being such a bad daughter and not listening to them? My answer, Mom, you know what I've been through. You know this day was bound to happen. I'm not being a good daughter? Mom. I think I've been the best daughter to you and Dad. I needed help in the past and I listened to you both by going back and being patient, by making you guys happy, and it left myself miserable. Am I not your child? Don't you ever want me to be happy once in my life? How much more do you guys want from me? Is it my dead body? Is that when you guys will say yes, you can divorce and come back? I clicked on her and it was the first time ever my mom heard me cry. The first time she ever felt my pain. The next day, she called and said yes, you can divorce but don't involve us in it. And so I divorced him. Now I am still living on my own with my kids. We have a very strong relationship. They are big now in their teens and young adults and they help me a lot. My kids were raised well because they see the pain I've been through. They've seen the struggles I fought. They know that I love them and that they will always be my priorities. I work, come home, tend to them and is always building my relationship with them. I have to say that during my darkest days, they were my brightest sun. My relationship with my family is still the same. Even if they don't agree at first, now they are happy to see that I'm happy. No matter what, I am still their child and I will always love them regardless. My relationship with his family is still the same as well. They still have respect for me and we still keep in touch. For the ex, I don't talk or ever see him. If anything, my kids reach out to him themselves. They still love and respect him. They go visit him every once here and there. As for my love life, yes, I'm talking to someone after 4 years of divorce. I was finally able to open up again and talk to someone, but I am not near of dating or marrying anyone soon. The trauma that I have faced in the past scares me to love anyone and be in a serious relationship. But I am working on it. I'm working on forgiving myself and hopefully one day I will find the right person who will prove me wrong that love does exist. I am a survivor. I am strong. I'm independent and I learned to love myself. Even if it's a little late for me to realize my worth then, I am proud I made that decision that day. I went through deep depression during my divorce, but now I am so much happier that I got out from this cage that I thought death was the only way out. I was worried about how others will view me. What they will say behind my back. But now I care less. People will talk no matter what. If you are in a similar situation as mine's, women or men's, please reach out to family and friends who you can trust. Please don't think that you're the only one, and death is the only option. Please don't stay in a toxic relationship that you're not happy in. Don't just stay to satisfy others while you're living a miserable life. No one knows what happens behind closed doors. The hardest part is taking that first step. Even if no one is there for you and no one supports your decision. Just trust me. Once you take that first step, everything will fall in place. I promise. It's hard at first, but when you're settled you'll think back and be proud of the decision you made that day. Please love yourself because no one else will. I have to learn it the hard way and I don't ever wish upon anyone to walk the shoes I used to wear. I don't ever want my daughter to go through the pain I once was in. I don't want anyone to go through it because it's so painful inside out. For parents, please let's all change. Don't ever tell your daughter or son to go back to a toxic relationship. Let's support the decision they make. We can only guide and help them, but it's their life to make that choice. If they want to walk away from a toxic relationship, don't put them down. You would want them to be healthy and happy. If they want to walk away, let them. Don't make them feel like they are alone and take their own life and then you'll think of the what-ifs. If they have worked on their relationship and it keeps failing time after time, let them be happy separated. I am not perfect. I do have my flaws and I am also at fault for this failure marriage, but I am focusing on myself and bettering myself for my kids and our future. Some encouraging words for a sister is very appreciated. Thanks for reading my long story.